Hi, I'm Elizabeth Gordon, and today I'm going to talk about financial health, which is an area you might not have considered before having any relevance to health. But so many people are really stressed about money, and it has quite serious effects on many people's health and well-being. So why does that happen? Many of us have sort of mindsets around money that we inherit from our parents. So they could be things like, we've had a hard upbringing as a child, thus we need to be really frugal and careful, and we're worried about our own security. We might have had parents who spent a lot of money and then had financial problems. We might have had parents who really hated the thought of dealing with it and just buried it all, and then had problems. So that's part of the effect. Then often we go into employment where all the financial side is really taken care of it for us. We actually get a net salary after tax, and we have that amount of money to allocate between our main bills and spending and everything else. I think a lot of challenges start when people have their own business. They perhaps don't have great financial understanding. They might feel resentful of having to pay someone to help them or feel they haven't got the resources to do it. So they sort of muddle along trying to do things for themselves or get it done way after the event. So they're really trying to run a business completely blindfold. They're often just looking at their bank statement and not really knowing how much money they've got, how much they've got to pay out in future. So that's clearly quite a stressful way of doing things, and being in business can cause a sort of huge ups and downs. Income isn't always certain, and there are periods of feast and famine sometimes, and people often have no idea about putting money aside for paying tax and other things. So all of those can be a bit of a recipe for disaster. But because of our upbringing, often we feel we can't mention it to other people. We try and put on a facade that everything's okay, and that can cause its own sort of stress. So those are just some of the things I see people doing. And of course there's the biggest thing is getting into debt. We live in a very consumer driven society. We have expectations of having holidays and a lovely home, and we want to do the best for our children, and it's all too easy to gradually accumulate lots of debt. And that's a big burden, I think, that people have hanging over their lives, a bit like a black cloud. So how can you actually help your health around the finance? I think the first step is really awareness, knowing what type you are. Do you just avoid it, or do you spend too much, or do you hoard things and are really over frugal? So that's a first step. Then how good is your financial understanding? Could you actually learn a bit more, and so you felt more in control? So many women in particular sort of abdicate that responsibility to their partners, and then can have problems later when they might separate or something happens to their loved one. So I think that's a big step, is having that awareness. And then it's trying to regularly look at what's happening with your money. Can you have a money day every month and really look at what's going on, track what you've been spending money on. That's a great idea. Think about things like protection is another source of, I think, reassurance for people. So policies and covers without going overboard. So they're just some things just to get you thinking. I mean, this is a huge topic that I could go into in great depth, so just sharing some first thoughts for today. Bye.